hood, falling out the hood, falling getting money like a real one should. I'ma take a sip, get a little lit back in a bit, meditate, I think I should. No, we ain't friends, got me on 10.
A lot of interesting stuff coming out right now involving Jets forward Pierre-Luc Dubois. Shocker, right? Of course it's him in the trade talks right now. If you don't already know, the Dubois saga has been kind of endless ever since last offseason, the first day of offseason, really, at the end of the regular season. Jets are eliminated, aren't making the playoffs, and the offseason begins with some media, and before you know it, Dubois leaving Winnipeg is buzzing everywhere. It really looks like Dubois is not staying. You heard the rumors rumbling in the early parts of the season as well, at potentially him wanting out. And then, before you know it, the holy event that comes that brings all these rumors together happens, and that was last year's NHL draft. If you don't already know, Dubois was in attendance at the NHL draft in Montreal last year because he was expecting a trade to go down. That is obviously the rumors. It's never been officially confirmed, but it is as confirmed as it can be for a rumor, in my opinion. So, I consider it pretty factual. Why else would he be there? Nonetheless, though, he is a Winnipeg Jet. He's still a Jet now. The offseason continues. All the rumors are starting. It really looks like going into training camp that he is going to be a Montreal Canadian comes the start of the 2022-2023 season, but he isn't. And he's still a Jet to this day. It is currently March 30th at the time of recording. And before, earlier this week, we finally have the rumbles come out. It starts again. You hear the Dubois rumors coming up. We've heard it all season long. Dubois to Montreal. It's probably happening, blah, blah, blah. But then Elliot Friedman, again, comes out on 32 Lots saying that it's a 95% guarantee at this point that Montreal and Dubois is happening, that he is going to be a Hab come next season. Then, Darren Dreger today on 690, which is Montreal's sports station on TSN, came out and said that right now the Jets are not having an appetite at all for a rebuild. Right there, you can see it from Scott. They're not trying to rebuild at all, and they're doing everything they can to sign Dubois long-term. Right here is the 690 news snippet right here, 16 minutes long was Dreger's interview. Actually recommend it. He goes on to talk a lot about the Jets. Also goes on to say that if the Jets do choose to rebuild, expect Scheifele, Wheeler, Hellebuck, and a bunch of other names to go with Dubois if that's the way that this goes. But right now, it is all chips on Dubois for Winnipeg. And, it makes good sense. You see his stats right now, 58 points in 67 games played, 23 goals, 33 assists. If the Jets hadn't, sucked and continued to be good, it would have been a career high in points for him this year, I really argue. And it probably will be a career high for him in points, being that 61 points he had back with Columbus 2018-19. He's fourth on the team in points, right behind Mark Scheifele. And with the way Scheifele's been playing, I wouldn't. And look at the games played, right? So obviously, Pierre-Luc Dubois has been the number one center for the Winnipeg Jets this year, and for good reason, because Mark Scheifele has been shit for a lot of it. He really has. He's been a good forward at times, putting a goals in with, 38 goals. I can't take that away from him, but he is not a center anymore. Mark Scheifele is a goal-scoring winger that can sometimes move the puck like his center. That's old. That's the best way to describe Mark Scheifele. But yeah, what do we think about this, guys? Because I'll tell you what I think. Move Dubois out. With the way that the Jets are playing right now, you're really going to tell me that keeping Dubois is the most important thing? If you go over and look at Cap Friendly, if you move out Wheeler, if you move out Scheifele, okay? If you move out those two guys, if those are the two guys that it's looking like are 100% leaving during this offseason, with the way that everything's looking right now, like they do not want to be here, it's looking like with the coaching stuff, with how bonuses called out Scheifele, it has just been bad right now. I think Scheifele is burnt this bridge. I really think Scheifele has given up on his career in Winnipeg, and he wants out. I really just think that's evident based on the play and everything going on right now. It sucks that it's come to this point, but this is the product we're getting from Mark Scheifele right now, and it's terrible. But Josh Morris is here long-term. Kyle Connor's here long-term. Nikolai Ehlers has got 2 more years after this year. Like, you have 3 forwards right there. 3 forwards. 3 really good players, 2 forwards, and an elite defenseman. One of the best, if not the best defenseman, a Norris defenseman. This team still has decent players. Perfetti, Morgan Barron is decent energy guy. I know that bottom 6 has been death right now, but again, I don't think it's just on the players at all of them individually. I think it's the whole entire team right now. So this team is definitely not in a rebuilding mode. It's called a retool. But Pierre-Luc Dubois obviously is not the guy that wants to be here long term. Like, this just screams, baby, I've changed. Come back, don't leave me. You don't need that guy coming back. You don't want a JT Miller situation. You don't want to just have to pay the guy because you don't want to lose the guy. You don't want him to come in and have that attitude. It's look what happened with JT Miller, how he's run this team out here in Vancouver. Now, I know he wasn't like that the other times before, but if you pay a guy a lot of money that probably didn't want to be here in the first place, he's not going to be happy long term. So don't do that. This team has a culture identity problem. It has for a long time since the end of that St. Louis season, or even that entire 2018-19 season, excuse me. Ever since that year, this team has had a culture problem and an identity problem. And I don't think Dubois is the future of this team's identity. I don't. Not after all the shit that he's put this team through in the media. Now, I don't necessarily think Montreal Dubois is 100%. There are 32 teams. He's got no control of where he goes. And I bet there'd be some teams that would be putting pretty enticing offers in front of the Jets, willing to pay Dubois handsome subs, and obviously, you know, better location than Winnipeg. They're going to brief that on. And maybe he does that. Maybe he leaves. I don't think Montreal is 100% happening. But at this point, Dubois leaving Winnipeg is 100% happening. That's the only thing I'm taking away from these articles right now, is that you got one person saying it's a 95% guarantee, and then you got another analyst saying that the Jets are in a dire mode trying to do everything they can to keep Dubois because they think they don't want to rebuild. Well, you don't have to rebuild. Retool. Retool and go at it again next year. This core is dead. You can pick apart some of the pieces of it and go with it into the future, make the necessary changes, and hope for the best. If it doesn't work next year, it doesn't work next year. Use a young team. Like, I don't necessarily understand why everything is just, oh, it's signed Dubois, we have to, or we're trading Dubois, we have to. Just move him out. Don't overpay him. Don't force a guy that doesn't want to be here to stay. And don't try to convince a guy that's made it very clear he has no intention of staying here, especially with the current culture of this team and how far and bad they're sliding down the standings. So, I don't know. I don't sit here and look at this and be like, yes, I'm glad Dubois wants to stay in Winnipeg. I'm like, okay, I think the Jets are naive. That's what I take away from this, and that's what you should too, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that, oh, the Jets, they want to compete, because they're going to compete anyway. They've got decent players signed that aren't having a problem being here as of right now. Like, if Nikolai Ehlers, Josh Morrissey, and Kyle Connor all in the next month won out with Scheifele and Wheeler, then fuck it, we're done. But right now, we're not. We still have some guys left. And as long as you can put a competent team in front of Connor Hellebuck, I don't think he asks for a trade. I think Connor Hellebuck is a respectable enough individual that he would ride out that contract if he had a decent team in front of him. Because when you look at the past, he had pretty mediocre teams in front of him that he always played in and always went out and did his best at. So I don't see him quitting. I think that if they trade out everybody, he's going to want a trade as well. But right now, I think that this team still has some guys to hold on to. They can take some of this core, rebuild it, retool it. I think it's more of a retool than anything. And then go to the next couple of years and see what happens, you know? You've got some really good draft picks coming up. You have some potential there. Let's see what happens. That's where the Jets were 2 years before they went to the Western Conference Final. Why not do that again? Why is everything so stuck up on keeping this current core alive? You don't need Dubois. You don't need Mark Scheifele. You don't need Blake Wheeler. I just don't understand why they're so focused on keeping Dubois. Trade him out, get a great package, and then put some youth in there, experiment, and try to make this team better for the future, not just because you got Connor Hellebuck for one more year. That's great, but what's going to happen in the next 10? I don't give a shit about the next 1 year, or 2 years, really, unless we win a Stanley Cup. I care about the next decade of hockey, because I don't want this team to be like the Vancouver Canucks. I don't want this team to be like the fucking Buffalo Sabres, the Arizona Coyotes. I'm not shitting on these franchises. I'm shitting on the fact they've been in perpetual rebuild modes for like a decade plus now. And that is kind of where the Jets are heading right now. They're refusing to look at what is in front of them. Dubois does not need to be here long term. Move him out if there's interest. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. You rode this team back from last year again. Ride her back. Let's bring it back. Run it back. What does it get you? Barely out of the playoffs in the most mediocre playoff run I've ever seen in my life. You've got Nashville, who sold at the deadline, a Calgary team that couldn't find consistency if it slapped them in the face, and the Winnipeg Jets falling faster than a fucking 747 that's been shot out of the air. Like, this whole situation for the 8th spot is a joke, and the Jets just are perpetually finding themselves stuck in mediocrity, and if they don't realize that this core is not the future, get the fuck out, move them on, and then try to adapt. Because it's crazy at this point how fans that can just look at this and be like, okay, obviously it's not working, how $1 million men that are paid to run this stuff can be like, we're good, run it back. Why? Like, what blackmail do they have on you? That's what I want to know, Chevy. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think about these rumors? Do you think Dubois is gone? Because I think he's 100% gone, and I am not happy the Jets are looking to keep him. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, make sure to follow, subscribe, hit that notification button, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram as well. Check out all the affiliate links down in the description below. Have a great rest of your day. Peace, love, and positivity as always. Go Jets, go! And I will see you guys back here tonight for recap reactions. My God, if they lose tonight, if they lose, ladies and gentlemen, if they lose to Detroit, the goddamn Red Wings after losing to the Sharks, I'ma lose it.
It'll all be over.